Hey, welcome everyone to episode 6 of FPL Bulls and Bears. On public demand, we've got a full house today. We've got the man Praveen over here, who I think is going to steal more spotlight than our panelists here. Although I'm sure Harish will have something to say about that. And if what the others say is true, then Aniket probably won't have anything to say at all. And of course, we have Sanjay, who was our very first episode one expert. So, with that, guys, let's get into it.
Hi
So,
guys, how are you? Thank you.
So, Harish, why don't you tell us about your favorite club and why you chose the name Hurricanes for your team?
Hey, good evening, guys. Hurricanes came from the fact that I used to have a online gaming ID. I just had a out of lack of ideas. It came from Hurricanes. Nothing to do with Harry Kane, the footballer.
No, because
It was
the way you keep
Hurricanes
bashing
that
Arsenal fans on
Hurricanes.
the group, one would imagine you're a Spurs fan, and I think Deepak Mohani will be extremely happy to realize that he's not, one of a kind there. But yeah, I mean, yeah.
No. I mean, I can be blamed on so many bad choices, but not the Spurs.
So Deepak, that one's especially for you. So yeah. Aniket, how about you, man?
Yeah, Deepak.
What's your favorite club? Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
Harish, you didn't say your favorite club, man.
Yeah, I'm as silent as my club is these days. Den Haag is making us
Oh man.
every evening we are hugging very nicely.
Fair enough, fair enough. I think that's why you didn't mention your club. I think you just wanted me to, move on to Aniket. But
Glory,
yeah.
glory.
yeah,
Things will happen sometime.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
gory right now.
yeah. GGMU. Yeah, why not? How about you, Aniket? What's your favorite club and
Well,
why Fighters 11?
uh, well, I'm with Harry in that sense that I'm also keeping quiet with which club I support because I see a lot of haters for my club in the group. So if I say the name, I don't know what kind of reaction I'm gonna get on the chat. So you can guess, right? It's Man City.
I hate so many
What?
clubs.
Man City?
Everyone gets
Bro.
every
You asked once, right? Who is there any Man City uh, fans there or followers there? Group. I remember. I think vaguely a couple of weeks back.
My God. Oh, wow.
Aniket is like a
I
fair
will tell
weather
you
City
one thing.
fan.
No. I will tell you what. Clarify one thing. I'm not like Harry. We've been supporting Manu for like years and years. So it's just from the recent couple of years that I've started following Man City and kind of like the way the team is, the way they play. In that sense, there is no. It's not a club that I just like madly in love with and everything like that. It's not like that. But I like Man City. It's a very neutral view in that
Man,
sense.
hey bro, you've totally stumped me there because there is a guy from IIM Calcutta in our mini league, and he's a pretty recent pass out, so he's way younger than all of us, and I'd always assumed the one Man City fan in the group would be him, but wow, I mean, I'm stumped, man. My preparation's gone for a toss. Over to you, Sanjay, Praveen. It's all yours, guys. I'm calling it a
Yeah,
night.
the day his love for Man City has come from the time I moved from to UAE. He sent the money to buy the clubs. This guy has become a fan.
Imagine we are best
He's
buddies.
actually fan
And he's a Man U
He's
fan of Man City.
fan of Liverpool more than Man City. His cutout is kept on the seat, which is empty in most of the empty halls.
Empty, Ada. Yeah.
Hey, I had no idea you guys knew each other. But Aniket was Harish a big influence behind why you picked Man City? Is it because he's a Man United fan and you wanted to piss him off?
No, nothing like that. No. I wish I could have said that, but I don't know. I think it's see it might feel a little weird too, but I've been following Man City and kind of like the way the team has. The team is built by Pep. I like the way they show hunger, game in, game out. I like the way money apart. I know money is a factor which everybody picks on. I know. I mean, they figured it out 10 years before everyone else did. So, you got to give it to them. They invested at the right time. So,
Yep, there you
I
go.
understand the
Bro,
other factors.
points deduction is coming soon. Huh?
But, it's.
He's going back to main road.
Sanjay.
No, but I like the way. See, the most important thing I like about Man City is I think the hunger they show game in, game out. You see, whenever their backs are against the wall, they're down. They keep coming back. They keep coming back. That's kind of attitude that Pep has installed. It really works for me. My kind of thinking, my kind of style of play, or a team which I really like to follow. Even if they lose, you will never see them just hang their boots or hang their heads, or not that. They'll keep fighting. They'll keep looking for opportunities. They keep going at it. I mean, that's the kind of team I want to follow.
So Aniket,
I mean,
actually spot on right there, and respect where it's due, because I think the reason why Gundogan also came back to City is that exact same reason, right? I think in La Liga they lost a match with one of their most fiercest rivals. If I'm not mistaken, it was the El Clasico, right? And Gundogan says the response that I saw in the dressing room, that is something which I absolutely cannot tolerate, right? I mean, nobody was feeling bad about it. People are going about as if it's business as usual, right? And I think that is the whole mentality which Pep has over the years. And I think it goes all the way back to Pellegrini, right? Manuel Pellegrini. And I think over the last 10 odd years, City's mentality exactly has been that, cutthroat, you have to win it. And, they feel really, really upset if they lose a point, even to like really respectable clubs like, say, Liverpool and off late Arsenal, right? So I mean, I think that is spot on right there. I think it's the same attitude which I think Arteta is trying to bring to Arsenal. So like credit where it's due. I think in terms of that hunger, right? And we know that it's very hard for an English team to really win a Champions League, right? And I think the way City
I
did
don't
it.
want to. I don't want to piss off Arsenal fans, but
There are two of them here. Just warning you.
You gotta understand where that attitude came from.
No, that's what I'm saying, right? Arteta did get it from City, right?
Where the
Absolutely.
source came from. You gotta understand that.
No, bro. So
I
the reason
got a
we disown City so much is because, I mean, secretly we wish our clubs were getting those kind of results, right, of late. Because I think from the time most of us, hit our early 20s, we've been kind of following football with a renewed vigor, right? At least for me, it started after coming to IIM Calcutta, where people like Sanjay, Praveen, and the whole Joka gang was into it, and that really renewed my interest in FPL at least. So, yeah, I mean,
True.
credit, yeah, and
And our
props.
clubs have won nothing since.
Yeah, and our clubs have won nothing since, right? So yeah. Oh well, I think this could go on all night, guys. So yeah, I think we should let's just quickly focus more on what's important here, the
Well,
panelists, right?
I didn't explain to you about my name, why that name came from.
Oh
I have
no,
a
no, no,
brief, I have
no.
a brief history for that. So I started playing fantasy in cricket first.
Right.
Okay, I came to football much later. So when we used to play, I used to start my season in the list. So first, maybe even if we are playing for say 10 weeks, I would be for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, I would be at the bottom of the table, maybe last or second last or something. Towards the end, I used to keep climbing to a point where I used to always challenge the first top three or even sometimes first position. Harry can tell you about it, but I kept doing it over a period of time, and so that it's like fighting your way all the way to top, right?
I
So
get it.
I kept on doing year after year. Hence the name. I thought of that I should name my team Fighters only, because I keep fighting from the bottom every time. So that's how that name came, and that has stuck.
Yeah.
And you're right there near the top of our league, 5th place, I can see.
Yeah. And now I have learned how to stay on top over a period
I'm
of time.
changing his name to 150 charges.
115 charges, yeah. So I mean, just Praveen, since you also didn't know that, actually, I got introduced to Aniket and Harish thanks to our common friend Rohit Murthy, right? So his colleague Vipin runs another mini league called the Fanatics, and that's where I joined in, and Murthy, got a lot more than what he paid for, right? I pulled in all of those guys over here into our league. So yeah, I mean, that's how these two guys go back a long way, and yeah, I mean. Good
So
props
me
to
and
them.
Aniket are childhood friends actually.
Yeah.
We lived
Wow.
in the same colony right from very young age. Played all our gully cricket together. Fanatics, the start of Fanatics, it was my cricket club in Dubai.
Yeah.
And that then became Fanatics, our cricket league. Then all the Fanatics guys, whoever was playing FPL, we put into our league, and now we are into tools.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, that's like pretty much the world getting connected together. Yeah, and I can see you guys. I mean, not only are you all childhood friends, but you all also seem to have had your best FPL season ever in the COVID season, right? 2021. So, in fact, that is just before the COVID season, right? Before, no, actually,
Harry,
this
you
would
want
be
to put
pretty
some
much.
light on that?
You should look at the first. You should look at the first year difference between our scores.
Yeah, I see that right there. Yeah, 7 points,
points.
right? 7 points separated you guys in the first
7
season.
points, and it was the last day of the year, and Virgil van Dijk scored the goal. He got 6 points and the bonus, and that's how he won.
Wow. Yeah, we know how fine these margins
Anyway,
can be.
Here I won our league.
I
He came
hate
second.
anyway with Liverpool with passion, but now the Van Dijk he took away the, and this was for the final prize, you know. It was the first prize,
So all
which
Sodexo
was
coupons, right?
decided by
Just to
7
clarify
points.
here, all Sodexo coupons, right? Or whatever you get in Dubai, equivalent of that, right? Yeah, fair enough. First prize, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, good stuff. I think. But ever since then,
Yeah,
what's
all
been
good
happening,
news.
guys? Your ranks have been, pretty much. At least Harry, in your case, bro. I mean, top 1 million rank, 1.5 million in the last season. What happened? Went with random punts, or because something seems to have gone off, right? You were doing pretty well until then.
Yeah.
Something seems to have gone off last year.
No, it went off. I had a brain fade moment where I did like I wanted to do a wild card and I missed the wild card. I missed pressing the wild card, and then
Ooh,
I did like
minus
something
something.
Right.
10
You
odd,
know, we what?
10 odd.
30 points or something, right?
That's a lot of negative.
Yeah, and then I just went for it. I did all kinds of random stuff. I made Salah play on one leg. I made Haaland. I blindfolded Haaland. That kind of the last few weeks I did.
So I think a little bit of solace for you is that one of the most dangerous players, at least from our other mini league, which Praveen is well aware of, right? A guy called Apurv. So he accidentally played a free hit instead of wild card, and immediately the next
Yeah.
week he again played wild card, right? So he's already a couple of chips and wild cards down. So yeah, I mean this kind of stuff happens, but like all said and done, another one of our friends, Aggu, right? He always says that the best chip you have in the game is your captaincy, right? I mean, it's not even a chip, but you get it 38 times.
Correct.
So if you get that right more than the other guy, every other chip's going to pale in comparison, right? Yeah.
I
Now
love
this
that
happened
concept.
like in game week 34 or something. By then it was.
Oh yeah, I understand. It's kind of late, too late to do anything when it's that late in the season. As you know, Praveen has proven last season as well, right? It was game week 34 that he really turned things around with his free hit. But yeah, that's a story for another day. I think I don't want to relive those wounds
When
again
he turned
tonight.
things around this week also. My goodness, we were head to head, right, Praveen?
Oh, Vavi, I don't look too much
Yeah,
at the
fine,
head-to-head
yeah.
competition.
Yeah, he doesn't care about competition.
I just-
He's winning it every
That's
Oh, what?
Oh yeah, it was
Got
like
some 88 points or something, right?
Let me wipe my keyboard. The humidity has made it wet. Let me
Yeah,
just wipe it.
I got a bit lucky this week. Everyone seemed to have clicked. It won't happen every week, so
Yeah,
I'm
it's
braced for
good,
that
it's good.
downturn.
Hey, don't be fooled by his humility, okay? Last year around game week 31 or something, he's congratulating me that, bro, well done. I mean, impervious. I mean, we had a debate on whether it should be impervious or another word, and I'm like, नहीं बराबर
Imperious.
imperious है impervious बोला नहीं दोनों सही है, arrogant भी सही है और unpenetrable भी सही है, जीत तो रहे हैं हम. I had some 80 points lead over this guy. But yeah, I mean, don't be fooled by his humility there, okay? Nothing clicked for him. It was all well calculated. He knew Mbemo was going to score. He knew exactly what's going to happen. So yeah, don't be fooled by him. And why do you think, despite Sanjay and me, creating this podcast initially, why do you think the comments are all about we want Praveen, bring back Praveen, right? Yeah. So there you go.
I have some very good friends. I told them about the podcast.
Yeah, but there you go. Yeah, so great stuff, guys. So, but I see you guys have started playing FPL only in 1920, right? So, is it something like what Pratik told us in the last podcast? He actually lost his account, so he had to restart. But you guys haven't played FPL before this, so this is just your sixth
No.
season. Wow,
This is our sixth season.
wow,
I was always into
Newbies.
cricket fan.
Yeah.
wow.
We've been playing cricket fantasy
I-
for long, right? 10
Yeah,
years
yeah,
maybe.
yeah. I'm
So-
sure. Yeah.
And I lost touch with football for a period of time. When I moved to UAE, I would still watch. Then started family, and then Premier League was not available on the regular Asia sat that we used to have back then.
Oh,
So you had to take a separate package. So we used to only go for a few matches in the nearby bar with a few friends, and and cricket was so busy. We were playing so many matches every weekend was full of cricket matches. So we had no time to follow so much. So you can't play FPL without actually being involved.
Yeah.
So few friends were playing, but I was not. And then it's thanks to Vineet and company that we said, okay, let's. I had another friend of mine who no longer plays. He's very busy with his startup. His name is also Praveen, incidentally, and he was a fantastic player, Praveen Pinto. So then all of us started, So 4-5 years it was fun, and now we have a much larger group. And
That's
there you
great
go.
stuff, man. Yeah, great stuff. I'm glad I have some of the fanatics guys already joining in our league this year. Yeah, hopefully next year we'll have a complete overlap, right? So many of our guys will probably join because you guys have a completely different structure, right? Obviously that involves more Sodexo coupons, and you of course buy in with more poker chips. But the way it goes is, I guess you
Yeah,
guys
and
reward the top five
bet
in classic.
wise,
Yeah. Sorry, Harish, you were saying something?
yeah,
So signed
yeah,
T-shirts.
Sodexo and wet wipes.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, guys. Yeah. Brilliant stuff there. But yeah. So I think let's move on to your teams. I think last week was pretty interesting. Oh, sorry. My bad. This is just the Goa effect. A little bit too much liquid in the system here. Before that, before the teams, let's hear your FPL philosophy. Both of you guys have been playing for 5 odd years here. So, how has your philosophy evolved over time, and how do you approach the game today versus how you started off? Anything, right? This is the most freewheeling session, part of the entire podcast right here.
You want to go first, Harish?
Okay. So look, for me, I've been playing fantasy with more of a gambler's instinct, and that's how it started. And honestly, when the first year or so, I had very few teams that I knew very well, and the research was very limited.
Right.
But as things have evolved, and I have started looking at things more from a probabilistic perspective, and in terms of how much money do you spend versus what kind of returns you can anticipate. So every year it has evolved differently. This year I have, how much ever you want to be disciplined, sometimes the rage takes over and then you tend to go ahead. And that's where I think someone like Aniket has been a lot more consistent than me, because he's been very, very disciplined. I have not been that disciplined in all my FPL. And again, when you reach a stage where you feel that the gap is too much, you start taking a lot more punts, and you give away a few points, just try to catch up. So that has been the problem. But I changed that philosophy in my cricket as well. So in the last 1 year, I have been very consistent with my performance in the cricket fantasy. I won a tournament and I came second in the other, which Aniket incidentally won. So that has worked for me. So I've become very disciplined even in my football fantasy now. And I have been one guy without Haaland, with an idea that has bit me on my backside seriously. But I still feel that the idea that I have, that overall the total number of players that you have who can consistently deliver performance in the long run can probably be one heroic performance. But if Haaland keeps performing this way, all these theories will go down the drain.
Yeah, of course. And in fact, for the Game Week 4 podcast, we had this guy Devank, right, who probably would have finished first in our leagues last season, because he had an overall rank of 8,000. And he has also started off the season without Haaland, has no intention to bring him in anytime soon unless he wild cards. Because he believes exactly the same thing that you do, right? Like you take that 15 million, maybe go for a Watkins or okay, not Isaac, but maybe go for a Watkins or someone thereabouts, right? And whatever additional 5-6 million you have, that is the difference between, say, Morgan Rogers and Cole Palmer, right? Although Rogers has been doing well of late, but you get what I'm getting at.
Rogers is still some unknown quantity, right?
Yeah.
You have to take a punt. He's been playing well, and I've been looking at him very seriously. But if you look at my team, and I have taken my Rogers is Ahmad, and I feel that right side has been a problem with United, and Ahmad at 5 million odd has a chance of delivering points. Looking at what I've seen, and there is a little bit of bias there because I've seen that guy much closer in the preseason and all of that. So in the first draft he came in, so it's not necessary that he might stay in for longer. But then to have Saka, Palmer, and Salah is more important for me with a good defense. Like I got Trent. I had Gabriel just before
Before
the
he
City
scored
game,
twice,
and
right? Two games in a row, yeah.
he scored twice, and I didn't have. I just removed him to get
And
Konate in because
And just one point, guys. Here on the screen, the teams are reversed. So
About
the
to see
team,
that.
yeah. So
This is
the
my
team
team.
so the team that you see under Aniket is actually Harish's team.
Hey, that's Goa again, right? Yeah, that's Goa again.
Yeah.
But bro, I think Aniket also was trying to make a point about the philosophy, right? Before we deep dive into the teams, what is your philosophy, Aniket? So I understand Harry follows the gambler's instinct, but yeah, he's getting more disciplined now. As the seasons
Well,
go
yeah,
under his belt.
yeah.
What about you,
So
Aniket? What's
my
your take?
yes, yeah. So my philosophy has started with being disciplined and picking the players which are standardized players, which we call them like the ape pickers, and we pick them and we use the stats to. But over the period, I think my thinking has evolved. I focus on picking up the cycles in that sense. I look at the cycles, how teams are evolving, how teams are doing first. And then I look back and I say, should I be selecting that player instead of, say, the most preferred player? And then I would like to compare both in terms of how I can put them in next 2 game weeks, 3 game weeks, or over a period of time which I want to pick. And I usually then go for that. If you see my team, you will see that my picks are, there is a core, but rest of the picks are a bit different. So I don't have Palmer, I don't have Saka. In fact, I had them post my wildcard. I removed them to bring Jackson in, to bring Mbumo in, to bring Mitoma in. So I kind of thought that, say, Brentford are going to have really good fixtures for next couple of weeks. So I brought in Mbumo much earlier when he scored those 2 goals. I remember, if you remember. So I got him in. Jackson, I got him last week because I genuinely thought that Chelsea are in goal scoring form, and they will continue to do so for next couple of weeks at least till that cycle runs out. I mean, it happens that a team goes on a cycle and then suddenly it vanishes. So you got to be quick to identify that cycle, and you should be quick to take the call also. If that cycle is ending, you can remove that player.
So a word
So
of caution for our
that-
uninitiated viewers. It's just like trying to time the market, right? It can be very, very risky, but if it pays off, it can really pay off, because I think there are some teams that blow hot and cold like United, right? And that is why year after year you'll see when United does well, you'll see their player and prices shoot up like anything, because like I remember players like Rashford and even Mason Greenwood, right? When he played, I think there was a phase where over 3 to 5 game weeks, those guys are going to outscore the likes of Salah or maybe even Haaland, right? I'm going to stick my neck out and say it, because that is just the kind of team United is. And then you have this whole phase where someone like a Bruno Fernandes, despite having second or third highest XG over the opening couple of game weeks, still ends up with 2 or 3 points per game week. Yeah. But sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to say I really like that part of being able to catch that cycle. Yeah, I know it's a tough thing to do, but yeah.
Because I genuinely feel that people who would like to take those sort of bets or take sort of risk will end up going ahead of the general crowd. They will rise quicker than the others. If you keep picking the same players, you would not be rising quickly. You would remain in that. If you are at the bottom of the table, you won't be able to rise quickly. If you have that sort of players, then you would be able. Because I started at the bottom of the table. I didn't in the lower half of the table. I kept taking those picks, so it kind of clicked in a game or 2 game weeks, and I suddenly saw myself coming in the top half very quickly. So then after that, I mean, it has to do with your table positioning as well, where you are at the table and when you want to take those risks. Now I would not want to take that many risks. Maybe I would want to balance it out in some way till I find myself in a certain position or certain game week. So I would play it according to situation more. Like I don't have a fixed mindset that I would keep with this player. I need Saka in my team. I need Palmer. I think every player is replaceable. Every player has an alternative, I feel, except for maybe Haaland. Maybe I sometimes feel he's
Essential,
somehow
right?
he just proves every week, and he's just too dangerous. I mean,
Essential.
I genuinely feel that those who are captaincy candidates should be in your team. The captains who everybody are going to pick day in, day out, those players need to be in your team. The rest of all you can play around with. So that's why I have
That's a good
Salah
way
and
to look at
Haaland
it.
too.
But doesn't that
So,
give you a
and
captaincy
Aniket,
headache? Sorry, yeah, Praveen, you were saying something?
Yeah, I was saying that Aniket's philosophy is a lot like in investing terms, you call it like a core portfolio and then a satellite portfolio. So he goes with a core portfolio of like strong picks, like your Haalands and the Salahs. And with the satellite picks, I think so he's like willing to take the risk a little bit. You know, there are Mitomas and you know, you have Nicholas Jackson. Nicholas Jackson is sort of like as punty as it gets if you've been through Jackson last year,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a great philosophy, I think. Good that's working
He's
out
got
for you.
another explosive player in there in Luca Digne, right? I mean, he's another guy who can shoot out a 15 pointer any game week or give you a -1, right, and a red card in the same match. So I think, yeah,
Absolutely.
these satellites are either going to take you to the moon or they're going to crash on their way there. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much that's going to
Another
be.
thing that I have been observing, and that is something that I have brought into my philosophy as well. If you look at how people look at defense, they've always looked at defense from a defensive contribution perspective rather than clean sheet perspective. I mean, that's why you will see a lot more wingers or wing backs or
Yeah, yeah.
fullbacks into the side who are. But what I have realized, and something that I've tried to stick very strongly, well, while that is important, it's very important to see how defensively organized that team is. If because clean sheets are so difficult to get these days in modern football, getting a clean sheet is so difficult that if you are able to get a reasonably priced, other than say a Trent Arnold or there are one or two exceptions to the rule, who essentially play like a midfielder and you get a benefit of a defender if they get a clean sheet. And I keep him only because I have seen a couple of games of Arne Slot right at the beginning, and he's very organized in his defensive side of the game, and it's shown in the number of clean sheets that Liverpool is keeping.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why Konate came in for Gabriel, because I felt the next cycle of games for Arsenal was going to be tough. And there could be a chance that they could lose out. They didn't have Declan Rice, so I thought that will affect their defensive abilities.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
for
didn't
sure.
expect
Yeah.
2 goals to come from Gabriel, and that I accept it. I accept those 2 goals because those 2 goals could have come anytime. So defensively strong teams is very crucial to have those assets and to have the players who will get through. And Trent is even better for people who don't have Trent, because Trent only plays 70 minutes,
Yeah.
and there's a high chance of Liverpool keeping that clean sheet over 70 minutes than a guy who will play 90 minutes and nick off a last minute goal and your clean sheet goes away.
Fully
So
agree
there
with you
is
there.
the challenge.
Yeah,
There is a
Sanjay.
challenge of
Say
losing. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, actually, the point you're mentioning, a lot of us burnt our fingers last year itself, right? Because we were after wingers like Estupina and some of the others, whereas people who picked 2 Arsenal defenders last year, for most of the season, they were the ones who ended up with maximum points. So actually, you're right, especially off late when clean sheets have become a rare commodity. Probably picking 2 or 3 who are just clean sheet bankers makes more sense.
Yeah, there are few teams which are clean sheet bankers, and out of say 5 games, they might end up giving you 3 clean sheets, and that is good enough. I think you can't
fair enough.
try to get more clean sheets. So that cycle also, and I think it's the most neglected aspect of football these days. I feel most people are going for cheaper defenders and then focusing on, and especially Haaland is making them do that.
Yeah.
Because if they have to keep a 15 million player, and then if they have to bring in a Salah or a Palmer or any of these, then you're left with very little choice to play with.
Yeah.
So
And I
not
think-
having Haaland is giving me that choice, but I also believe that Haaland is also due for a few blank games, and that might hopefully adjust. But I also very strongly believe in what Aniket said, that captain choices are crucial. So you need to have a banker captain in your team.
Yeah.
I was banking on Salah to be that guy, because it becomes very difficult to have. If you have Haaland, 9 out of 10 games he might be your captain. So it becomes very easy.
Yeah.
But if you don't have Haaland, you have 2 or 3 choices who could be your captain, and if you make the wrong pick on that week, say I picked Palmer when Salah had a good game, and when I picked Salah, Palmer had a good game. So then that is something that can make life very difficult.
So Harish, that's exactly what
Which
I was
will
going to
not
say,
be with
right?
Haaland.
That is the disadvantage of having a team, where you don't have an outstanding captaincy option. Like in your team, obviously it's Salah, But there are guys like Rahul Mandal in our league who have neither Salah nor Haaland from game week 1, and their reason is exactly this, right? They want 15 absolutely bang for buck kind of players, and that's where it gets difficult because I really think the hardest part of this game, until at least Haaland came to the English Premier League, was getting that captain right week in week out, right? Of course, Salah had made that a little easier for people like us. But I think imagine a world without Haaland and Salah, right? I mean, obviously it's going to be extremely difficult to predict whether it's going to be Palmer's week or Saka's week. And clearly, as we can see over here, I think Trent Alexander-Arnold was the outstanding captain last week, right? Obviously, nobody saw Jackson get 16 points, but you get what I'm saying.
Harry Kane was another such option. So week in, week out, you could pick one of these three,
Exactly.
And an absolute nightmare not having them.
Yeah, I agree there. Yeah, fantastic, yeah. So guys, coming to your teams, and for the viewers, just again a reminder, please look at the team on the left as Aniket's and the one on the right as Harish's. So what transfers are you guys planning? You don't have to reveal them honestly because we do have, the deadline tomorrow. I mean, I'm not saying lie on the podcast, but I'm saying it's okay if you say that. I don't want to, tell you what my transfer is going to be. But yeah, you can definitely say that I'm considering these 10 guys. Right? Yeah, Sodexo coupons are safe, man. Don't worry about that. But yeah.
Well, I'll be honest in saying that I'm looking at Arsenal assets for sure because I think their fixtures are turning. Team looks good. They played a really difficult game and I think they did really well. Hard luck to them that that goal had to be scored, and I mean they had a goal scored against them in the last second probably. Otherwise they would have won that game. I think the confidence is pretty good. So I think Arsenal assets. I am definitely looking at Arsenal assets. Which ones work? That I still have to take a call. But yeah, definitely Arsenal assets for me.
How many transfers do you have, Aniket?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. How many transfers do you have banked up already?
No, I don't. I have one transfer. I haven't
saved any. Okay.
How
about you, Harish? I think you also made
so far, or sorry, I was just asking if he's played his wildcard or he's
me.
Yes.
Going to play it in the near term.
I have already used my wildcard.
In game week 4? Was that game week 4 or this is not a wildcard team, right? I think it was game week 4 when you would have used your wildcard.
I think game week 3.
Oh wow, okay.
I think game week 3.
That early, huh?
3 or 4. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Harish, you still have your wildcard, right? You haven't used it.
Yeah, and I'm seriously itching away. So this could be.
This could be the week. This could be the week.
This will be another wild card without Haaland. No Haaland this way.
अरे भाई मत खेलो फिर wild card. Haaland नहीं ला रहे तो क्यों खेल रहे हो wild card?
Harry is going to.
So there is a plan. There is a plan with or without wild card, and that is why you see some cheap assets lying around here and there. This time, just out of discipline, I said I'll not give 4 points away. But yeah, I have a few things in my mind. I'm reasonably happy with my team, to be honest. But there are a few things that need to change. Without Haaland, I feel I have been able to reasonably get consistent points. Two things that I feel where I have probably let myself down is missing out on the Haaland run of great form. So that is something which I'm okay with. I mean, it could have happened, which was the downside to the portfolio allocation that I had done. So no Nvidia in my stock. I'm waiting for a correction in the US markets. But having said that, there is also a thinking that there is some reshuffling that needs to happen in a couple of areas that could come through wildcard. I'm just trying to weigh if the wildcard is really going to be used well. But yeah, maybe an Arsenal asset is something that I have also planned.
You mean in addition to Saka, right? So I think for those, since both of you mentioned...
Saka is a real bang for buck. The guys that I have been disappointed, to be honest, are Madueke. I thought Madueke has been stupid. He had so many opportunities which he could have either put away or just passed the ball back to Palmer, and he got so many. I mean, the pick was right. Not because he scored a hat-trick, because I felt the gameplay with Palmer and Madueke and the front three was working so well. I've got multiple chances to get at least a couple of assists every game. and that's all I'm looking for. I'm looking for an average of 6 to 8 points from a player, and I'm happy if the midfield delivers that. I will be okay without Haaland also if the consistency takes care of itself. But that idiot hasn't done that. So and then it might be time to ship him out, and then he might score another hat trick.
So, Harish, I'm interested to know, did you get Madueke in place of Nkunku?
No, I removed Eze.
Oh,
I had Eze in my,
I see.
and I removed Eze not because he wasn't playing very well, because Crystal Palace wasn't playing very well. I felt that Palace wasn't playing on the front foot as much, and they were waiting for the last few minutes of the game to just go out and push the teams, which doesn't give you much
confidence.
Much joy as as an attacking asset. So with Chelsea's form, I was pushed to pick Madueke. I was very keen on picking Jackson because he's a value pick. Last game, but with 3 assets already, I couldn't bring him in.
Right.
So that was one of the.
Right. And since both of you mentioned you guys are planning to get an Arsenal assets, just have one question for you. What, in your opinion, works better from a structure perspective? 2 Arsenal attackers and 1 defender, or 2 defenders and 1 attacker? Because, as Sanjay said, right, last year there was a lot of value in having, Gabriel and Saliba or Ben White, right? 2 of these 3, and then obviously a Saka or an Odegaard, depending on how brave you felt. What's your take on this? And this question is actually for everyone, Sanjay, Praveen included. 2 attackers and a defender, or vice versa?
Yeah, here actually, who would be the second Arsenal attacker you go for? It's
absolutely right.
Havertz.
I have looked at it so many times. There is no value attacker for Arsenal.
Yeah, but Havertz now.
Yeah, he's 8 million now.
And Havertz without Odegaard is actually playing sort of midfieldish, right? So is he really as attractive an option? So I think at this point in time, it seems like 2 defenders is probably the way to go. I wouldn't mind if somebody just went to Arsenal and left 1 spot open.
Fair enough.
Like if Odegaard comes back 1 or 2 weeks later, you can move on a Havertz then.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that's the right way to approach it. What do you guys think?
I believe what Praveen says is right, because I don't see a banker finisher in Arsenal. I see that the goals are coming in from unusual places. Trossard is a good bet, but we don't know whether Trossard is always a rotational.
Minutes, right? Risk. Minutes is a problem there, because between Martinelli and
rotational risk is high. So, I mean, I would rather bet on 2 Arsenal defenders than have a midfielder or an attacker from Arsenal. Other than Saka, and Saka is a real, genuine banker stock. He will average, on an average, between 6 to 8, game week after game week. So, he's such a good asset to just hold on to.
This Raya injury is a big dampener, yeah. Raya, otherwise, 5.5, 5.6 was a good route.
Without Raya, getting an Arsenal defender is not a very safe bet.
So, Sanjay, are you planning to play a wild card this week?
Yeah, I've
already triggered it, is it? Okay. So
no choice, man, no choice.
So I mean, with this, I'm sure, like game week 6 wildcard seems to be the popular one, right, this year. So for others watching, we're going to trigger the wildcard, Sanjay. Like if they were also on a Raya, like what I assume you are, right? What do you suggest they go? Ditch the plan, go like 2 4.5s. Or just stick with Raya and have a playing keeper along with it and just bite the bullet for a short period of time till Raya is back.
Yeah, so to be honest, I am thinking of the second one. The issue is at what price do you get the second playing keeper? Right now I have 0.2 in the bank, just very quick reference, and a 4 million keeper. So at max, without changing the rest of my team, I need to get a playing keeper at 4.2.
I don't think there is one. Right?
I have a thought for you, Sir Sanjay. Who is the second keeper for Arsenal? I've not even looked at it.
So no, but then that blocks your second spot.
Blocks an Arsenal spot, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's
then
more
you can pick only one of Gabriel and Saka.
If you're going double, you can't. But you have 2 assets anyway. You have a goalkeeper and a defender.
No, that's what I'm saying. So if I have Gabriel and Saka, and if I take Raya and the backup keeper, that makes it 4, right?
You have Saka as well.
Yeah, Saka and Gabriel are
No,
no-brainers.
I said if you didn't have Saka, then you have a choice of having the cheaper second goalkeeper and then move him out once Raya is back.
Yeah. No, so but yeah, Praveen, to answer your question, I'll probably try and get maybe a 0.2 or a 0.3 million somewhere from my team.
Right.
Maybe downgrade a Semenyo or somebody and then get a playing backup keeper.
Right.
And then once Raya is fit, you still have your Arsenal structure without an extra transfer.
Right. Right.
So looks
And
like it was
if
Norberto Neto, guys. I just checked, and he did play when Raya wasn't available. Even gave 7 points.
Keller is a good option for a cheap goalkeeper. I don't know how expensive is Keller right now, and I don't think
Keller.
Alisson is going to play for him.
that's
Yeah.
He's
To be
also a
honest,
clean
I'll
sheet.
have to go through the.
Candidate as well. So
that's a good candidate for sure.
Mm,
Keller, because he's going to come cheap as well, right?
He's
Actually,
4.4.
yeah, he will be cheap.
Keller is 4.4
A
right
lot
now.
of
So
4.5 candidates which are good apart from these, I think.
Right.
Yeah,
And
Keller gives you
I think you want
cover
to
till Alisson is back, and I think Alisson will be back only after international break. In what it seems.
yeah,
So by the time Raya will be back,
Yeah,
to
not a bad
it's
shout, yeah,
seriously-
not a bad
not a
shout.
bad shout actually. That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Although I guess most people would have either Trent or Salah,
Maybe
so
the
that's
sixth
again
finger if you do get
blocking the third one, right? It's again blocking
few
the third
Sodexo
spot.
passes.
Right.
Right, guys. Great stuff. Great stuff there. So, guys, we're getting pretty late into this. So, yeah, let's get into Bulls and Bears. As always, guys, as you all are aware, people on the right are going to be the most transferred in players. People on the left are going to be the most transferred out players. The ones at the top are the ones that our panel, by and large, believes are going to do well. Those at the bottom, not so much, right? So with that, let's get on to the actual deal. First one, Luis Diaz. I believe the panel did have slightly conflicting views on Luis Diaz. But yeah, over to you guys. Why do you think he's a bull or why do you think he's not?
Yeah, I mean, I can go first because I have him in my team, and his points were delicious. I love them. So I think I'll stick by him, and I'll say that he's definitely a raging bull. He seems to be on hot form. Something has changed about Diaz compared to his last year, right? He's far more direct. He's confident. You can see that in his shots, and considering the fixture turn that's going to happen now with people going for Saka instead, I don't think Diaz is a bad alternative to Salah. 5 million cheaper, and even if you get lesser output, that it's good value. So I think Diaz is mispriced. Actually, he should have been higher, but I don't think the FPL guys who set his price up knew that Arne Slot will use him in this way. So yeah, I think he's a good pick.
So interestingly,
What about you
Praveen,
guys?
in episode 2, when it was Sanjay, you and me, we said the same thing about Jota, right? That Jota is criminally underpriced because at that point in time he was playing a striker, and now suddenly he's saying this about Luis Diaz. So I think the FPL guys kind of knew that okay, these are guys who are going to be brilliant as long as their minutes are right. Because if you notice, couple of seasons ago, Foden was 7.5, right, which is like criminally underpriced. Like Foden is a player who should easily be 10.5 at least if Saka and Palmer are that price, right? It's just because of the minutes risk that players like KDB, Foden are at 9.5. But that's my humble take on it.
I have a view on Diaz though. I mean, Diaz is an absolute delight when he's in form, and I've seen him when he's not in form that his output can really be shitty. So that also could be with Salah. You know for a fact that you're going to get a lot of service coming into Salah. Not in this Arne Slot, the way Arne Slot is playing, but again you have to consider the fact that he's on pens as well. So Salah will have a few pens along the way. So Luis Diaz is super hot. He's in form right now. The team is in form. So it makes all sense to have Luis Diaz in your team at this point of time. As the form changes or as the fixture run changes, things could change. But for the next few games, maybe it might be better off to have Luis Diaz over Jota for sure. Because again, Jota is limited on minutes. He's injury prone, and and the fixture runs are reasonable with Wolves coming in next, and then Crystal Palace. So I see them scoring goals, not being challenged in midfield. So then that again helps them in pushing the ball forward.
Yeah, the only thing is, so if you see the way they are priced, Trent, Salah, Saka, Haaland, typically you will find it difficult to have all four. So
Yeah.
what Diaz does is you can get Trent, Saka, Haaland, and while it's not an like-to-like replacement for Salah, you still get a place in the
Liverpool attack.
So,
Yeah.
So I kind of swapped that in a different way. I had I had Salah. So I said, if I can't have one more attacker, I can have the defense. So I got a cheaper guy in Konate who's good in the air, who's keeping clean sheet. So he's kind of balancing that.
Fair enough.
I kind of little disagree on the Raging Bull part because I didn't find any other option which was suitable for Luis Diaz. I kind of asked you to keep it in the Raging Bull. I don't think just because he scored back to back, understood he had two really good game weeks. But over the period, if you really see his stats and everything, I don't think he's that sort of player who will consistently give you points after points after points after points. I don't think, unless Liverpool as a team collectively plays really well and scores a lot of goals. But most of the time, you will find Salah or maybe Trent in that position. If Nunes plays, maybe, or whoever plays Gakpo, Nunes. So Salah would be the center player around which the scoring happens. So you consider that. I'm not very sure about Luis Diaz as a Raging Bull, out and out Raging Bull. Maybe somewhere in the center of Raging Bull and punts, maybe you can keep him for me.
Yeah. I think people who are going for Diaz, you should look at it as a trade-off. Like it's something like a Palmer plus Diaz versus a Salah plus a Smith Rowe. Now it's a question of like which one you would want, or like a Saka plus Diaz versus a Salah plus Smith Rowe, for example.
But to make
right?
things
So-
complicated, Praveen, there Smith Rowe is doing well, right? So that's
Yeah.
probably making it harder.
Have
Right?
all three. Have Smith Rowe as well.
Have all three.
Another one. Yeah.
And everyone scored last game week. Big.
Yeah.
Right?
Look at us complaining that everyone scored in FPL. I mean, what is FPL making us do? I mean,
Even H2H. No, that's what I'm saying.
everyone except United.
Up next is Isaac, and I think the panel has by and large put him as a flop. I was the only one saying he shouldn't be a flop because guys, give him time. You know how clinical he can be. He's been, I wouldn't say unfortunate, but I think
I disagree with you. I didn't put him in flop.
Okay.
okay, fair enough.
But you
But
think he
yeah.
should be in?
I think he has done everything but score.
Right.
Which is
And
the definition
also
of a
kind
flop,
of a
right? For a
flop.
striker.
No, meaning he's done all the right thing. It's only a matter of
Yeah.
time when the goals will come. I can understand Nick Nunes scoring that goal gives me no joy of him scoring another goal, right? Nunes can do that even from row M of the stand and miss right in front of the box. But Newcastle as a team seems to be the problem more than Isak. So
Fair enough.
I agree.
Fair enough.
as a pick you
Not
may have.
Isak's fault, but I think
I mean, not
team is not
Isak as
playing.
a player, I don't think he's a flop. But at this stage, I would say that I would go with Isak, not in my team purely because the team is not supporting him.
Right.
But
And
his game, his personal form is not something that is a problem.
yeah, and I think fixtures also turn a little bit
Yeah.
for
They're
Newcastle
playing City
towards
next,
like
right?
Correct.
Yeah.
medium or difficult. So
Yes,
I
so at
think
this point, not a,
Surprisingly, Newcastle have done well against City. I think
yeah.
the
historically,
teams have been very tight between them, high scoring games.
Let's
So
see.
Isak
Let's see
can
how
be a
it
good
goes.
pick.
Sanjay, is Isak in your wildcard team? I guess not.
No, man, definitely not.
Right. Okay. We'll move on to the next one.
Gabriel. No debates here, right, guys? The two fixtures where everyone was holding off from getting an Arsenal defender, and this man goes and scores on both, right? Yeah, so yeah, I mean, no
And you
debates.
could
there.
almost see it that it almost came from a corner before that, and I think he could have had
Yeah.
one more
One
as
more,
well.
one more,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah. So
He actually scored one more when Haaland actually threw the ball on his head. It went straight inside the net.
So that you're saying Gabriel would have had a hat trick, huh?
Anything Gabriel head will goes in.
yeah, he looks so threatening from like
Yeah, he
corners. Like
Yeah, man.
But I am surprised that I saw some of the videos in the way that Gabriel actually approaches the ball and actually served up for him. And he seems to be like there are decoys just to give him enough space to go and attack it. But with so many people looking at these videos, I mean, week after week, somehow nobody seems to block his path. And they leave a path, and they don't seem to put a strong guy to block him. It's generally these weak dudes who are actually trying to chase him around.
Who was it who was blocking him in the city match? Was it Doku?
I
attempt Doku, then Walker.
Yeah,
The goal which went in was Walker.
Walker was actually trying to do both. If you see, there was a guy behind, so Walker actually felt because he made a run. So Walker actually moved a little bit to try to block the other guy behind on the backside, and then Gabriel jumped in. Whereas the chance for the guy from the back to score was much lesser than Gabriel scoring. So
Right.
again,
I think he timed his runs really well in the box.
No doubt.
That's very important.
No doubt.
The timing of your run is very important, and he does it to the T. I think
there are multiple guys in Arsenal team. There are multiple guys who are capable. So there's a lot of threat. I mean,
but if you really see his
Saliba's another one,
acceleration
right?
when he times his run,
Havertz.
difficult to catch.
Yeah.
Declan Rice. So you can't really look at one or two guys, and then that creates a problem. So now they'll mark Gabriel, and then someone else could come in.
It's Saliba, right? It's either Saliba or Gabriel.
Yeah,
I mean,
Saliba.
you have these, tough centre backs, right, to step up. Yeah.
Because typically Rice is the guy who goes in the far end, trying to catch the deflected ball.
Well, there is White also always who is like blocking the keeper.
Bouncer.
His job is only to block the keeper. Don't let him move. Confuse him. That also works, I think. It works in their
No,
favor.
but now the
Fine
now the
lines there,
refs
but
are-
it
It's
does
the
work.
dark arts. It's the
It's the dark
arts.
arts, absolutely.
Dark.
And ironically, it's Ben White who does it, right? So, yeah. Up next, we've got Jota, who people believe is a punt simply because, a lot of people are transferring him out, but you never know with Liverpool, right? Sometimes Jota's loss is Luis's gain and vice versa. So, yeah, I mean, you never know how it's going to work out. What's your take on Jota, guys?
Jota again is a matter of having a good run. When he has a good run, he scores back-to-back goals.
Yeah.
So if this fixture turn works for him, the next 2-3 weeks he could be the one scoring.
Any idea if he played the midweek match for Liverpool, Jota?
He played and he scored against West Ham.
Goals. Played for 60 odd minutes, I think, and he scored 2 goals.
2 goals.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of midweek games on a completely different tangent, Nkunku also scored a hat-trick, right? Let's not go
Is
there.
Nicholas Jackson under threat?
Now you're
He'll
just
be
because your
mad.
team is Haldi Kunku, you're promoting him way too much.
So, dude, my team name is going to change to Eliminated FC pretty soon, or Eliminati FC, because this year I've decided. So last year I won LMS, right? Last man standing, but obviously it's not going to happen this year with all of you guys coming in. So once I get eliminated, I'm going to continue to stay in the league. I'm just going to rename my team. So I'm just waiting for that Shubh day to come so that I can finally get rid of Haldi and Kunku. That has been the single most disappointing part of my entire season. Yeah, so. All right, guys. Next is Mbomo. I think a lot of you already have him. I think Sanjay is going to get him in on this wild card.
Yeah, he's on my radar as well. I've been wanting to pick him, but somehow the price was not fitting in. But he's definitely, and he's been super form as well.
Is he 7.6
And
now? What's his price now?
Price has gone up, I think.
7.2, I think.
He's more around 7.1, 7.2, that range.
Oh, he's not a 7.5 starter, is it? Okay, 7.1 to something. Oh, yes. I'm looking at you, Eze. I'm looking at you. I'm going to try. Yeah.
I think Mbumo is a really good pick. I think because 2-3 reasons. Main important reason is he takes penalties. Then he's at the corners. He always lands up in a good position, goal scoring. He's a very opportunistic player who is always there. So these all attributes I think contributes to consistent FPL points. That's what you want, right? Consistent FPL points. You
And
don't
last
want a
year-
10 pointer and then just 2 game weeks, nothing.
And Yeah, to add to that, his game, his tuning with Visa seems to be very good. So these guys actually play very well together.
But isn't Visa injured? Visa's out, right? For a
injured
couple of
now,
more
yeah.
But
weeks.
then I'll again repeat the same thing. Collectively as a team, Brentford is playing really well.
Right.
So for me, that still is very important. When you pick a player, you got to see how the team is performing. The Brentford is really performing well collectively, and they are scoring goals.
Right.
So that gives him an extra edge. unlike Isak, maybe why Isak is a transfer out player because of the same reason. He's as good as Mbumo, maybe even better than him, if you
Yeah,
really ask me. So but team is not performing, so you gotta look at that.
sure. And
Yeah,
another,
and
yeah, sorry, Praveen,
fixtures
go ahead.
are
Go ahead.
yeah, fixtures are like absolutely great for
Yeah.
about next 10 fixtures or so. I don't think you need to worry about Brentford at all. So he's a set and forget option.
Yeah.
And in Aniket's word, he becomes part of the core sort of like for the next 10 weeks where you don't even need to worry about him. Uh, Definitely a great option, Mbuemo.
And guys, last year, if you all notice, even despite Tony's absence, right, for a large part of the season, that actually helped Mbumo, right? Because whatever fewer goals Brentford scored as a result of Tony not being there, only got compensated by the fact that Mbumo was on pens, and obviously he became their talisman, right, in the absence of Tony. So you've got to
Correct.
weigh it that way, right? No Tony means maybe fewer goals for Brentford, but a higher share of those goals going to Mbumo, right? I think that's the right way to look at it. And end of the day,
Right.
that's all you're bothered about, right? You're going to be absolutely fine having a suboptimal team's talismanic player like maybe a Chris Wood in your team, right? And I think Mbumo is by no means whatsoever in a suboptimal team, but yeah, and I guess as Praveen said, right, with the upcoming fixtures, I think definitely a must-have. So yeah, I guess
Yeah.
everyone agrees that he should be a raging bull there.
Yeah, just one point. We spoke about Mbuemo's penalties also, and we've seen this season that there are substantially fewer penalties being given
Correct.
out. In previous seasons, we had this mentality or this sort of mental model where we would always try to get the penalty taker. Does that need to change this season? Do we need to correct for that a little bit to say let's not focus so much on penalties anymore?
I think penalties are still crucial. Okay, you never know when the pens will. If you look at there were no blatant penalties that were disallowed. It's not
Right.
like they have changed giving penalties the way they have given last year, which they have not given this year or anything.
Right.
Maybe one or two that we have seen. I think it's also a question of those incidents happening, and it's just like over a period of longer cycle, maybe over a period of 10 game weeks, we probably know that a few more pens might come along the way. So 10 guys are always going to be crucial, but they cannot be only there for the pen.
Right.
Right.
So you need to have your pen guys, at least enough of your pen guys, the attacking guys that you have should either be link up guys or pen guys. So minimum that should be there. So pens are crucial. I feel you can't neglect the pen element.
Yeah, and I tend to agree
But
that
for
Praveen. See, even if there are going to be fewer penalties, you'd still rather have half a loaf, right, than no bread at all. So it kind of boils down to that. I mean, would you rather have
That's
a
it,
player
yeah.
who's absolutely not going to take penalties versus a player who might take fewer penalties than last year, right? I guess it all boils down to that.
So to add Jay, I mean, I would not pick up Bruno Fernandes just because he's taking a pen.
Yeah, that's. I think that's a brilliant example right
So
there. Yeah.
that's because for a fact that it's a nailed on. But a Salah, for a fact that he's a pen taker, but he's also going to give me. So if I were to pick, a Luis Diaz, is only because of budgetary constraints that or some other player that I'm going to bring on board. Other than, if not, I'm still going to stick with Salah because I know for a fact Salah is going to give me over 3 game weeks. The chances of Salah giving me the number of points, and I'm not going to probably make Luis Diaz my captain. So
Right.
that bit is also to be taken into account.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So your pen guys are important. Make no
No,
mistakes,
but
and
just
that come when the pens will come.
what it has done though, Praveen, is, for example, a player like Palmer, right? Now, Palmer's price point at this season is a lot to do with the number of goals and assists he got last year. But probably 40-45% of his goals last year
All
were penalties
penalties.
because of
Yeah.
the way penalties were being given. Of course, Raheem Sterling being there helped, but this year he's not going to get those penalties. So
Exactly,
probably a
Sanjay.
10.5 of Palmer, even though he's a penalty taker,
It's not
is
worth
no
it in
longer
my
that
opinion. In the
attractive
long run,
because he
it's not
might
worth
just
it.
get whatever 3 or 4 penalties in a season.
Right.
Well, he might
Right.
take more
Yeah.
than that, Sanjay, but I'm fully with you over there, and I think that is why I think Palmer is, I guess, very. I mean, he has been accurately priced considering last season, right? But then again, we have to consider
Considering last
this. The
season.
points have to be won afresh in this season, right? And from that respect,
yeah.
I think, and that is why I think a lot of people have not gone with Haaland, right? Because they know that okay, Uh, and like I look at it in a very simple way, and this is something Praveen taught me, I think, almost 5 or 6 years ago. Think of it this way: that you have, say, you have a dirt cheap bench, right? Like, say you have whatever 4.5, 4.5. You have a few. So if you have the rest of your squad is roughly 60 to 65 million, right? The playing 11 that you have. So you got to think of it that way. If you get 60 to 65 points every single week, right, you're probably going to be, in the top 5K or the top 10K, right? So the way you
Yeah.
have to look at it is, on an average, a player should be giving you as many points in a week as their price, right? Obviously, more the merrier. And this won't apply straight away to guys like Haaland and Salah, because more often than not you're going to captain them. So if you go by that logic, as long as Haaland gives you 8 to 9 points every single game week on an average, his price of 15 is justified, right? Which is the way I look at it in terms of a, points per million logic. And that way, I think this year Palmer is not going to be as effective at the 10.5 price, right? Because the opportunity cost, even maybe at an 8 or a 9, Palmer was still, pretty much a steal. But I think 10.5 is
Yeah.
just a little bit, I think, on the higher side.
Another thing is, if you guys, I mean, while the number of penalties have been less, there haven't. I can't see a reason why they have actually stopped giving penalties, and that's the reason for it. I feel the number of penalty incidents have been less so far.
Genuinely, yeah.
There have been a few penalties given and couple of penalties saved. If you look at it that way, Sanchez I think saved one, Onana saved one, and we are only on game week 5.
Exactly.
And really, we haven't seen
Too small a
blatant
sample
penalties.
size. Yeah.
So we can't really now put a finger on and say that the pens won't come.
Right.
So I'm still a believer that the pens will come. Maybe 2 soft ones may or may not come, but Palmer was quite lucky last time. There were really few penalties that came back to back.
Yeah.
I still feel more pens will come though.
Sure. Great. So that's it on Mbumo. Pedro, of course, injured till I guess middle of October, right? As you guys were telling me earlier.
Yeah, first week October is what it says.
So yeah. So well, we're almost there then, right? Maybe that's another game week or 2 away. But yeah, I guess Joao Pedro has been blowing really hot and cold this season. I know it's just 5 game weeks, but from an FPL owner perspective, I think it has been a little frustrating. Over to Jackson. I think most of you guys told me that you all consider him to be a bull. So, any word of caution for folks watching this podcast who might hop on to Jackson, because अरे यार panel तो बोला था Jackson अच्छा है. What's your word of caution there, guys?
Well, I have him.
I think Jackson is the guy you should put on the exact middle of the box, because he could be a punt, a transfer out, a trap, or raging bull. Because you
Harish-
never know what is going to.
Harish, great suggestion. Next time I'm going to add a block right in the center which says troll. So a player who could be absolutely in any one of the 4 boxes, depending on which 4-sided coin he's tossed that morning. We should have one bang in the
Yeah.
center called troll. And I think I should force the panel to add one player to the troll category every week. And my friends, it is definitely Jackson. Who else but the ultimate troll of FPL? Darwin Nunes has got nothing on him. It is Jackson. But yeah, obviously when he delivers, he delivers. Right?
Darwin Nunes is starved of minutes. Give that guy a few more minutes, and then you will see.
You're saying he'll outdo Jackson as a troll?
Yeah, that's what he means.
Okay, yeah, I can't
He's
disagree
been
there.
doing it over the years, no? Last 2 years, he's been doing it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I got it.
I have a different take on Jackson. I think, though I understand what he has done before or how many chances he has missed, I think this year I think it's a bit different. I think he's looks a lot more confident, calmer in terms of finishing. I think he looks good in terms of goal scoring positions. I think there is a lot of good supply that is coming to him, clean supply that is coming to him from the midfield. So I think he will be involved in most of the Chelsea goals. I feel this year, one way or another, either through assist, either through goals, whichever way it comes. He will be, as long as he keeps playing consistently and is being picked to play for 90 minutes or whatever minutes. I think he will be a threat. And comparatively comparing it with the money that you pay for Cole Palmer,
Yeah.
10.5 is much cheaper. And forward options, I feel, are a bit iffy. If you take Haaland out, you have 2 slots there are a lot of players.
Maybe
So
a
you
Watkins
can-
is probably the closest one essential you might have, right? The closest to in the forward slot. Yeah.
I mean, I feel 7.5 is a really good price to pay for him. I think all the forwards are either above 8 or around 6.5. Most of the good forwards are. So
Yeah.
he's really in between. So for team like Chelsea and the goal scoring ability they have over the number of weeks, I think Jackson is a good pick to have, according to me.
And I guess, guys, the better Jackson, performs in terms of actual, not forget the expected figures, but the actual goals and assists that Jackson really scores. I think that's pretty much going to chip away from some of the points of Cole Palmer, right? I mean, I know, of course,
Yeah.
that could also mean
Yeah.
Palmer gets more assists, but you can kind of get where I'm coming at, right? Because the more goals Jackson scores himself, certainly there would be some element of negative impact on Palmer if you look at it that way. But yeah, again, that's just my interpretation, my bias
Another
talking aloud there. Yeah.
a guy that probably is missed out of the list that could probably in Chelsea that could make a difference is Sancho. For the price, Sancho is dirt cheap right now.
How much
But
is he?
I think he's top 6. I think right now.
Wow.
His
Around
minutes are not guaranteed.
No, but his minutes are guaranteed. I'll tell you, next few games there is no way Sancho is not playing.
Really?
Yeah, because the way I look at how Chelsea wants to play now, Sancho looks like a starting level. Let me just quickly run through to see what price at Sancho is at. Then
So, meanwhile, Sanjay, do you have? Are you eyeing Jackson on your
I
wild?
haven't, dude. I haven't. All the 4 bulls so far I have.
Sancho is 6.3.
Nice.
Wow, 6.3. I think that's very
6.3
enticing, man. Very,
Yeah,
very
for a
enticing.
midfielder,
The reduced one.
for the value that he will bring in,
The price is
I
cheap,
feel
but the only
Sancho
issue
is
with Sancho, yeah, but then see right now Felix, Neto, all of them are on the bench, right? I mean, how
they
long
are
will
not
Felix,
guaranteed,
Neto?
bro.
I agree, but
Sanjay.
then same can be said about Sancho, right? I mean, it just takes one bad performance and Felix comes in.
I feel what they are trying to do with after they've seen Sancho and the last minute assist that he's done, I feel there is a definite plan for Sancho to play in Chelsea. Neto hasn't really clicked, to be honest, and Felix is still coming on more as an impact sub. So and he can't do what a Sancho does in terms of keeping the game for moving forward. What Sancho does, and he will work well in that team is what I feel when they're playing well. When they're not playing well, Sancho will be shit. So I feel as of now, Sancho seems to be value for money pick.
Harish, is there a bit of United bias in there?
Absolutely not. I hate the guy to the core, to be honest. But strictly now for his behavior and his attitude. But right now he is also wanting to prove a point. He's moved to a new club. He's trying to save his career. So sometimes that can help. And when you move to a new team and the team is doing well, for the price, and I'm looking at the price for 6.3, I feel Sancho could turn out to be a punt.
If
I
Sancho
think the new
becomes
FIFA game or I think some football game launched because that was one of his reasons of downfall at United, right?
yeah, he was playing it at 5
I'm
years.
surprised if he's playing that all night now.
So I mean,
Harry, are you gonna have him in your wildcard team? Sancho?
You will see, bro.
Okay, we'll see.
if Sancho becomes a mainstream pick, you guys heard it here first.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't think any FP
Next one is already there, Salah.
Salah is already there, and I think pretty straightforward. I think it's just the one off game that Salah that led to a lot of people transferring him out because a lot of people who captained him really got double punished because it was Haaland who delivered the goods last week. So I think this is just more of a knee jerk, right? I don't think there's any reason to. I know while it sounds really bad to call Salah a punt, that is just because of the way this grid is
Yeah.
defined. Obviously, we know
Yeah.
he's if not raging, at least he's a very decent bull, as the first 5 game weeks have shown. So I don't think there's much of a debate there. Moving
And
on.
he's probably getting moved out because a bunch of people are on their wild cards, so they're doing
Yeah.
the Salah to Saka move, right?
Yeah.
But if you weren't playing your wild card, if you already played your wild card, and if you have Salah there, do you consider a move from Salah to Saka this week? Considering that Saka has Leicester and Southampton at home, Salah also has Wolves, right? And that's not a bad
Wolves
pitch.
and Palace.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Wolves is
that's-
getting thrashed this year, right? I mean, pretty much everyone's putting quite a few past them this year. I think this
That's
would.
the sort of dilemma I'm in. Like, I have a Salah, but I want a Saka, and the only way I can get a Saka is by selling Salah.
And interestingly, how just a couple of game weeks back, everyone was talking about Saka being the bank to upgrade to Salah, right? And now people are already thinking the other way around. So yeah, I think that's a very interesting one, Praveen. I think this is where we'd see a lot of ranks reshuffle. We'd see a lot of people, the Salah holders, either going dramatically up or down. Ironically, all this time it was the Haaland owners and non-owners, right, who were being thrown up and down like waves in an ocean. But I think now it's going to happen with Salah, right? And it's really going to be less about stats and skill, and it's going to be a little bit about little more to do with luck now. How Salah treats Wolves and what happens to Saka, right? Because I think very galvanizing draw against Man City, and I think that will only push the Arsenal guys to go out there. And I think we punished Bolton really bad, right? We really thrashed Bolton last night, so I think some of that things coming to EPL as well. Yeah.
And what do you guys think after the when the last international break came? Salah came out and said that my contract has not yet been extended. This could be my last season at Anfield. And since then, form seems to have dropped like 2 games. Like, are we like looking too much into this, or is there something there you think?
Saudi January window seems to be the.
Wow.
No, I strongly
think
think
so. I
that
don't think
I don't think
Harish,
I don't
Harish,
think Salah.
Harish, can you just add that message in our WhatsApp group, and you'll see a couple of people bouncing on you.
Suraj Gadvi,
No, I
he'll
strongly
go to UAE, bro.
think
Suraj
irrespective
Gadvi will
of-
show up in UAE if you do that.
No, I'll tell you. My feel is Liverpool might sell him irrespective of how well he plays this year, because this
Yeah.
could be the only window
Cash
that they
cow.
could probably make. Yeah, and and it's not about the fans. FSG works this way. They
Right.
sold Coutinho when he was prime Coutinho, the player that everyone was looking at. And to not do it now will be like giving one more contract which is going to come to hurt them, and he's going to be the highest paid player. So all of that looks like there could be way out, and Salah is going to make the kind of money that will probably feed entire Egypt. So he's not going to let go of that opportunity either. And there is nothing much left for him to win. He's not going to be the centerpiece in Arne Slot's team. He's
Yeah.
probably looking at more youngsters. So all that, I think Salah will have to accept the fact that this could be his last year.
Yeah, fair,
In fact,
fair
more
enough.
the reason for him to go out with a bang, score more goals and show what he truly is. In fact, that will actually work this way. I feel that Salah would be hungry even more to end on a very high.
So Salah has been hungry, but it's just that the game model is very different now, where there is the way Salah is playing now, his role has changed a little bit, and that has stopped him from getting the kind of goals that he was getting. But he'll continue to score, but it may not be as prolific.
And guys, let's not forget, I mean, Jurgen Klopp, who basically helped Liverpool complete football, right, in the recent decade, right? I mean, in the last decade, he helped them to a UCL, to an EPL title. But we know that, football is not always about fairy tale endings, right? Like Wenger lost his last match at United, and, Klopp didn't really get much last year. So, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you don't always have
So
fairy tale
recently gave
endings.
him a good send off in the FA Cup as well.
यार ये FA Cup and all United fans को ही सूट करता है मतलब we're talking about some I mean despite Arsenal
वो भी जीत रहे हो ना 2-3 साल से।
We at least end up winning something, यार.
अरे मालूम है रे
हाँ, तुम तो
Arsenal
simple-
वाले 20 साल से FA Cup ही कर रहे हैं that's the
Simple.
only thing we've been winning for the last 20 years so I know what a Mickey Mouse Cup that really is so yeah I mean fair enough but guys okay
When you
let's
don't win big, that is the Mickey Mouse Cup, surely.
yeah fair enough okay over to Raya I guess he's also
But,
flagged
Jay, just to conclude your point of Jurgen Klopp, he was the greatest manager Liverpool had, and in 30 years they won a Premier League, made them win a Premier League and
UCL
Champions
yeah,
League, and
yeah.
so for the standard that Liverpool has set, he's the greatest.
No doubt about it. I was just saying that, right? Like you said that Salah will want to
Only-
go out with a
only-
bang. So
only
I'm just
on
saying
this
it
side.
didn't happen for Klopp, right? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work that way, unfortunately. Yeah.
So there was this whole narrative. So what Aniket was saying, the hunger. The whole narrative was when Klopp announced his retirement. They said they're going to come out fighting and they're going to kill everyone. All they did was fight among each other, and even Salah fought with Klopp.
Exactly.
all that
Yeah.
doesn't always work on the football field the way your emotions run.
Exactly. Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. So I guess Raya, he's flagged. That is why I guess most of us have put him as a trap. But by and large, I think whatever you said about Gabriel and Saliba, the goals aside, I think Raya is pretty much going to bang the same clean sheets as them. Obviously nailed and
Yeah.
everything. I think it's just the injury that's putting a few people off him. I think a lot of people have transferred him in because of Arsenal's great fixtures, turn of fixtures. But I think the injury kind of makes him like a trap, because the last thing you want is to spend so much on a goalkeeper, and unless you're on a wild card, you ideally shouldn't even be transferring, wasting your transfers on goalkeepers, right? Because the upside is kind of low there. But I think net once Raya is back from his injury, and I think the earlier conversation is important, right? The backup 4.5 keepers, right? Kelleher and some of those guys, Arsenal's backup goalkeeper. I think some of those could potentially be a couple of weak punts, but by and large, not much to say about Raya. Unless you guys disagree, anything you all want to say about Raya?
No, you're right in that sense.
Yeah.
And you never know. Maybe Raya is not that bad in terms of his injury, and if you have him, you may hold on to him for a week if you have a reasonable backup.
Fair, fair. And I think a lot also depends on that, right? I mean, in terms of who your other goalkeeper is. Like Praveen, I believe, has two playing keepers. Not sure if that has changed after the wild card, but I remember game week 1 and 2, Praveen had two playing keepers.
It's still the same.
Still the same, yeah. So I think,
But do you guys really go with the one non-playing keeper?
Yeah, I've always gone with one non-playing keeper. That I
Same.
want to spend as little as possible on my goalkeepers. But this year, I've just taken slightly, just trying something else out. Going
Even
ahead
even
and
with
do
a
4.5.
if you take a Flecken or someone who's probably reasonably cheap, it's better to have them as a backup. I mean, the differential might be very little, and on a particular day, if you do feel the fixtures are really favorable, and that could happen probably, 3-4 game weeks.
Yeah.
It's still a reasonable price to pay.
So Harish, but that's the thing, right? I was in fact quite opposite to Praveen. Like most of the seasons until the last 3 or 4, I've always had two playing keepers. I would never splurge on keepers. They would always be the 4.5 guys, because I always thought of it this way, right? Like if the keeper gets injured, I don't want to waste a transfer on him. I'll just play my backup keeper or whatever. But I realized that a lot of times my bench keeper would end up getting all those points, right? Because see, here's how psychology can really screw you up, right? You tend to think that okay, here is a keeper with a better fixture, or a home fixture, right? If both of them have tough fixtures, you're gonna just start the keeper with the home fixture, hoping for something. But typically, what happens a lot of times, the guy with the tough fixture is going to end up saving a penalty or get a lot more save points. So I've always been burned by that, and that's why, I mean, just intuitively I feel it's better to just go with one player, commit to one keeper, and in fact, the year before last, I think, was it Leicester? No, sorry, it was some team that had two 4 million keepers, right? I think it was West Ham. It was one of those clubs.
Turner was a very cheap
It
keeper.
was
Turner
Iverson, right?
used
It
to
was
be a very
Iverson and the other guy. So both of them were
Teams
4
had
million.
million.
Both of them were 4 million, and I said, okay, here I'm going to play these two guys the whole season, right? I don't care if one of them gets injured, the other one plays, the other one gets injured, this one plays, and I believe that team did not have a third keeper listed in FPL, right? So I knew for a fact that okay, I'm not going to look at this slot. Let it be 0-0, 1-1, 2-2, 3-3 the whole season. In 8 million, I don't have to look at just reduce the variables, right? Focus on 10 players the whole season, and that actually did worked out quite well for me. So I mean, yeah, just how you look at it, bro. I mean, personally, I don't think there's any particular advantage in having two playing keepers versus having just one that you can commit to. And I believe Murthy, right, from your Fanatics League, he always tends to spend a lot on keepers, right? I've seen him over the years
Ederson.
going for the Edersons, Allisons. Even this year he's got an Emmy Martinez, right, where most people in the template went with 4.5 million keepers, but he
We
still
have two Murtis. Which one you're talking about?
Rohit Murthy.
Rohit.
Rohit
Two,
Murthy.
this, three
Yeah, Rohit
Murtis.
is not
Third
he's the
Murthy.
other Murthy.
You're talking about
It's the
Vinith
third
Murthy.
Murthy.
Yeah.
There are two Murtis.
There is
No,
Three if you count Krishnamurti also, but yeah.
no,
Yeah.
not Krishnamurti, just Murtis. Namit Murthy, Vinit
That's
Murthy,
the original one.
Murthy.
OG.
Yeah. I think we'll do one special podcast with just all of you guys. I think the banter levels will be extreme there. But yeah,
Oh, you
with
should.
that, let's move on to Eze, guys. It's been a long night. I think this is going to be the longest podcast.
You're going to have a great job editing it.
Man, if this is 40 GBs and my laptop crashes, yeah, no podcast for you guys. Yeah. Eze. So yeah, you guys still think he's a decent punt?
Not me.
I
I
don't.
think the
Go ahead.
so I picked him in my first draft, okay, and I really felt that the way he was playing last season, he was a nailed on starter. What I've seen again, like I said, Crystal Palace is not playing the way they were playing on front foot last season. As a team, they haven't really shown enough that they will have enough goals in them. They haven't scored enough goals. One goal that came was a brilliant strike from Eze. Uh, so I still feel that the team is not scoring it. So if you can have like a Darwin Nunez type of a goal, and you're not going to put a player because of that. They're not going to be enough assists coming through. So I still feel if the team doesn't do that well, as a as they won't do that well. So I took him out.
I
And
would
I
put
would
him in a
recommend.
flop category. I would
Yeah,
put him in a flop because he was the most sorted player from game week 1 and he hasn't delivered for almost 5 game weeks. So
I think
it doesn't
not having
become
Olise
a
also affected him.
It
Yeah.
can change probably, but Crystal Palace has to play well collectively and start scoring goals so he can. But I don't see that happening soon. I think
Yeah.
it won't happen. So I think for me, he's
Just a couple of things there, right? I think there was that penalty which he wanted to take, but Mateta took it. He missed an open goal against United. So small margins, but yeah, so far even I had him for all 5 weeks.
But yeah,
I
he's been a
hope
little
that
unfortunate
will
also, right?
deliver.
If you come to think of it,
Unfortunate, I
there
agree.
was a
Yeah.
goal not given, and he.
Yes.
I mean, he's had a lot of those unfortunate incidents there, and I think personally, I think he has been playing well. Just a matter of
Yeah, he's
how much patience you have with him, right? And he's of course dropped price. That never helps, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
midfield is a place, Jay. Midfield is a place where you can't really have players who don't perform for too long. It's your high scoring zone. Because you don't have too many attacking options in the striking area. Especially if you have Haaland, you have very little room to play with. So you have to make sure that your midfielders are actually scoring maximum amount of points for you, and there are goal scorers there or
Yeah.
assisters there. So I don't see that coming from Eze. And he's not damn cheap. He's not like a 5 million player that you say that he's not a Smith Rowe. If he doesn't score for a couple of weeks, he bite the bullet and move on because he's making room for someone else.
Right.
Right. All I want to add on Eze is that yeah, the points have not been coming, but I think I'm seeing that attacking trio of Mateta and Ketia and Eze start clicking a bit. And who are your other options if you want to go to? Mbuemo is the only standout option there. So if the only route to Mbuemo is by selling Eze, then I would say go for it. But if not, whom else are you going to go down to? You'll have to go all the way down to Smith Rowe or a Semenyo. And there's nobody else really at like that 6.5, 6.8, 6.97 range that is really enticing. You can even hold if you have him. Unless you would really want Mbuemo and he's the only way to get it,
Right.
you can even hold him.
So Praveen, where exactly is the panel classifying Eze right now on the Bulls and Bears grid?
I think like two of them are vehemently flops, and I think that I'm okay with him in the punts category. More or less, I think so. 3-2 on punts.
Okay, so I think in that case, I too think he's a decent hold just because he's been a little unlucky, and I think the narrative would be completely different because see he anyway got 10 points versus Chelsea, right? If I'm not mistaken, it's just 5 game weeks, and the first game week itself he could have had a penalty, he could have had a goal. So yeah. I mean. Couple of more points here and there, and conversation would be quite different. And I really think
that
the price
point
drop.
comes back again, if I may add, that what Harish said that he's not taking pens. Does it matter? Does it really make a difference? Big difference now? Him not taking pens?
Yeah, fair enough.
So what we all thought at the game week 1, why he's a good pick because he was supposed to take pens, right?
Yeah.
Now he's
Right.
That
also makes a big
that
difference. Now
changes
Mateta
everything.
suddenly becomes a better pick, could be a better pick. Though he's a forward, I'm just
Right.
comparing as a Crystal Palace player.
No, I agree.
So,
I agree.
that matters.
That's straight 5 or 7 goals in a season taken away, right, from a player. So, which is like what? I mean, 35, 40 points
he's
taken away.
He's become 6.9 now from 7. But if you have a little more money, the guy that you should look back and who's not been scoring points and who could still come back to score points once there is some change in fortunes is Bowen. Bowen hasn't really given the kind of points, but he's one of those guys who consistently can start delivering once
Yeah,
the tide moves. So those kind of players automatically are the ones that you look at.
absolutely.
And Crystal Palace, looking at the team, doesn't seem like you will have a great run. West Ham is still a better team which hasn't been performing well.
Yeah, I gotta agree there. Yeah. Okay, wow, that was one hell of a crazy discussion, and yeah, I mean, I thank you so much, all of you guys, for being here. And I think with Praveen and Sanjay joining back after what seems like a crazy international break on the podcast, I think it was good to have a full house today. You know, two panelists and of course two guys to help me host this. So yeah, thanks a lot, guys, and I hope to see you guys again sometime in the future. We're obviously going to do more of these podcasts, and yeah, I think one with the Fanatics gang, I think, is very much on the cards. So yeah, thanks a lot,
Yeah,
guys,
sure.
and yeah, have a good
Thank
one.
you so
Thanks,
much, guys.
thanks
See you guys
everyone.
at
Have
the
a good
deadline.
night.
Thank
Hey,
you.
great fun, guys.